Alright, this is kind of informal. There's a fan in the background and you might hear my roommate, but I'm experiencing a really weird issue that I've never really seen before. I'm down mining, and you can see there's just like this layer of blocks that I'm not able to interact with. But they're solid, sort of. Oh, okay. Yeah. I don't know what that was, but like anytime I tried clicking on it, it would like mine through it instead. Very strange. Oh, weird. It's like something about these coordinates. Or maybe it's a chunk boundary? I'm not really sure. Yeah, see? Alright, I'm not just imagining it now. And odd, and my game kind of lags too, so like maybe it's an error? I don't know. I'm not gonna mess with it. Oh wow, yeah. So you can see I've mined all of 20 blocks forward, and I've discovered it's not just over there. It actually seems to be any blocks at X998. I'm not really sure why, and sometimes it's not a problem. Oh man, is it just 998 or is it maybe, I don't know, because it's fine over here, but it's only when I get into this middle area. Maybe there's like a chunk boundary in between here. Yeah, I don't know. And then it like randomly clears up. Oh, there it is again. Okay, so this is the next day. Again, very informal. I'm sorry. Fans running, roommates talking, but I'm just doing some mining. And so aside from this dirt block, I replaced it so I could remember. Um, this dirt block was stone. I don't have any stone on me. Also, check out texture pack's working. I'll be talking about that later. But aside from that being stone, these three blocks were empty. I don't know why. I haven't mined over here. I am strip mining, but I've been mining from that direction this way. So, very strange. I don't know. A lot of weird going-ons while mining lately. Hello, world, and welcome back to Minecraft Memoir. This is episode 48. In the last episode, we built a few more lighthouses. We kind of worked on expanding our world, figuring out where we're going to go in the future. So that was very fun. However, it took a ton of resources, especially like cobble and coal. I was very low. So, as you can see, in between episodes, I went mining a bit. So let me show you the haul. I'm most proud of almost getting a stack of diamonds. That's actually just down here. So overall, we do have a stack of diamonds. I know that's not a lot for some people, but I usually only mine up to like 20 or 30, and then I use up basically all of them before going mining again. So we're ahead, which is really good. I also got a ton of iron, a little bit of gold, but yeah, we're really good on iron now, which is also great. And almost a, well, over a full single chest of coal. So that's really good too. I think actually I've got more ores in here. Yeah. So a little more than you saw. Now, I'm going to discuss this a bit more throughout the episode. However, one of the things I did in between was also have a really good discussion with one of my viewers named Neil. Shout out to them. They gave me a ton of really good information on these early versions. Clearly, they are a bit more well-versed than I am, which is great. I really appreciate the help. One of the things that they said is that in these older versions, up until I believe beta 1.6.6, the positive X, positive Z quadrant of your world has 50% more ores than the other 3 quadrants. I think it's actually more of a glitch because in, I think, that beta version, when they fix it, they don't change this quadrant to have less ores, they change the other 3 to have an equal, plus 50%. So you can't really see anymore, but I was actually going the exact opposite direction with that really long mineshaft I was doing. So it was still partially in the positive quadrant, but it was going into the negative. So I started mining the opposite direction. You saw me, opening it up with TNT. I went all the way down to X 1024, I think. I wanted to give it a good multiple of 2. So yeah, I got a ton of diamonds just from like the destruction of this tunnel. So I haven't really gone strip mining yet. So I'm excited to do that. I feel like we're going to get a ton more than we were in the past. Now, I don't have a super strong plan for today's episode. I think what we're going to do is probably go around, do some various infrastructure maintenance. Maybe we'll build a ruin or 2, but generally I'm just gonna kind of walk around, do what I feel like, and talk to you because I do have a lot to talk about. In particular, right now, I want to talk about how last episode, or not last episode, episode 46, last episode, absolutely blew up. I mentioned in episode 47 that 46 was doing really well. However, 46 has done considerably better since then. It is almost at 2,500 views, which is crazy. I average usually between 100, 300. So that's great. And I more than doubled my previous amount of subscribers. I'm actually above 300 now. Thank you so much. So I blew past the 250 milestone. I'm not sure if today is going to be related to 250 subs. I'll potentially do something for that, but I feel like we're going so fast, I might just want to save all of that for the 500 subscriber milestone. That's assuming I get to 500 subscribers, but I feel pretty good about that. I mean, in 2 weeks, I went from 120 to 300, so that's really good growth. I actually found out through looking at my analytics, I was actually getting like a trickle down effect from another YouTuber. Their name is Dialco. I apologize if I pronounced that incorrectly, but I wanted to give them a shout out because they made this awesome beta 1.7.3 world tour video and it blew up. It got like, last time I checked, it was at 80,000 views. So shout out to them. That is super cool. I ended up being like the first search result from that video. So that's how my episode 46 blew up. So I'm very appreciative. That's awesome. All right. So I did some brainstorming and I've got a pretty good idea for something we can build today. So we are heading off in that direction. You can see my inventory is full. I had to do a bit of smelting to get enough stone. I'm actually not sure if we're even going to use all of this stone, but we'll see. Now, before I go over to that scary skeleton, I wanted to point out my inventory. I made a little note of it at the beginning of the episode. The texture pack, it's working, yay. That's not all that crazy. However, I was using the default launcher, just the regular Minecraft launcher, and every time I logged out, it would put me back to the default texture pack. So sometimes I would just forget, and you'd see me rocking the Steve skin every now and then. However, one of the other things that Neil suggested, I feel like I'm going to say their name like 20 times this episode, so I hope they enjoy. One of the other things they suggested is that I switch to the Betacraft launcher. That is a launcher created by a group of people who want to, preserve the old versions of Minecraft, compile a lot of old data. So the launcher has a bunch of other versions that aren't present in the default launcher. As such, I wanted to use it because that would probably affect the structure of my series here. So yeah, I've been using... Whoa! 2 spider jockeys? That's really rare. Actually, I'm going to need to figure out the rate. That's super cool, though. Anyway, yeah, so I've been using the Betacraft launcher, and so far it is great. One of the things it remembers is what texture pack you have selected, and it also remembers your settings. The texture pack remembering is really good. However, I'm a little scaredy cat, and sometimes I switch the game to peaceful mode. And I really enjoyed that the default launcher would actually just revert me back to hard mode every time I closed out of it. But this one remembers. So that being the case, I have to be a lot more cognizant of when I change game modes. That or I just need to not change my game modes so frequently. That all being said, I am really enjoying the launcher. I've only been using it for about a week now, so I don't know if that's long enough to really give a recommendation. But all in all, I think you should try it if you're playing these older versions. My game feels a bit more stable. I could be imagining that, but it feels like it. And, its ability to remember your settings and the file directories right next to the original Minecraft file directory. So that's really handy. All in all, I think it's a net positive. The only thing I forgot was enough torches. Of course, by the time I got back, it was daytime, so I just had to hold on to the coal I brought. However, I re-recorded this clip so many times that it is now night again. So that's neutral. So the third lighthouse is off in that direction. This is the river that we would go through. And you can see that this is the sand pit here. Now, I mentioned in the previous episode, one of the points of building the lighthouses were to help us spread out in the world. And I think that's what we're going to do today. In the spirit of expansion, I think in this biome right here, we're going to build another ruin. I'm not sure exactly how it's going to look, but I feel like it should be right here at the local high. And then, put some pathways coming towards it. You're being noisy. Some pathways going towards it. Maybe some mini ruins nearby. Tell a little story. I actually think we might do a pathway all the way back to our base. We can kind of see that the torches are lining those out. So why not, We're actually building over here now. All I've done so far is build up a little platform here. For this layer, it is a 31 by 19. And then I went up one. I might actually go another block up. Because I do kind of like, odd numbers for my staircases and stuff. However, I might leave it as is because I think pillars that are either 3 or 1 wide are either too large or too small respectively. So a 2 by 2 is probably what we're going to do here. You can see I'm figuring out the spacing right now. I managed to get these ones with 3 blocks in between. But these end bits, the spacing is not perfect, so I'm still figuring that out. But yeah, generally, this is what we're going to do for the ruin. It's nothing big and grand, you know, kind of medium sized, and it's nothing special. It's kind of like the Greek Parthenon, although a little smaller. One of the things I want to point out, though, again, this is just a big stone platform. However, it does have particular ratios. You might have heard of the golden ratio before, the golden number. That is 1 plus rad 5 over 2. It ends up being like 1.63, I think. That is a ratio that Greeks and a lot of, you know, civilizations used in their builds. Their builds, like it's in Minecraft, but in their construction, you know? And generally, that is a ratio of like sides of rectangles where if this long side to the ratio of this short side is equal to adding the short and long side to the ratio of the long side, if that's similar, then you can say it follows a golden ratio. I don't know if that made a whole lot of sense, but basically this is 19, that is 31. 19 divided by 31 ends up being like 1.61, I think. And then if you add those, 19 plus 31 is 50. 50 divided by 31 is also like 1.6-ish. So it's a golden ratio, TLDR. And I'm going to try to follow that for the rest of this build. Although I feel like I'm going to have to drop it basically as soon as I do these pillars. So I've got the pillars sort of figured out here. I'm still kind of working on this design. You can see I got the short faces figured out where these middle pillars have a 3-block space, but the side ones only have a 2-block. And that works out pretty well. I like that it's nice and centered, and I can also put a staircase here. And it only being 2 blocks here isn't too bad. I don't think you really notice. So I built a whole bunch of these before realizing that I might want to do some weathering. So for these ones, I haven't built them yet. Since the land is a bit steeper over here, I figured the weathering on the pillars would probably be in this area, because this corner would be the most likely to sink, so these pillars would break. I don't know if I'm going to follow that exactly, because I also wanted to put something, like I'm going to put a little roof on these 4, and I also wanted to put like a partial roof on some of these 4, and ideally I was going to do it here, but these 2 would be the most likely to be broken, so we're working on it. But all in all, I think it's coming together pretty well. You know, it's kind of funny, I forgot where the output of this tunnel was, and it's obviously right here, but I didn't realize it was so close to the ruins. They're right there. Ooh, actually, that's a great framing for them. You can see I basically finished them. Not the structures around and like the terraforming I'll need to do, but you know, this thing is done. It wasn't a whole lot more building. I really just, you know, put that roof on like I was talking about, and then, you know, did a bit of weathering, put on some mossy cobble. So let's check it out. It actually looks really good from that angle. I hadn't seen it that way before. Quite pleased. Coming from the base over that way, it also looks really nice. So you'll probably see a view of that at some point. So yeah, really basic. One note I want to mention, because I don't know if people will pick up on it, is right where you walk in, this little pathway has less mossy cobble on it than like the surroundings, because you would think that people, as they're visiting this, will trample any, you know, plant life as they come in. So it'd be more on the edges where they don't walk. Yeah, looks great. So now, yeah, we need to build like random, you know, ruined structures nearby, because we can't just have this thing on its own. I don't know what it is. I think it's partially that, it's the end of the semester. I've got a little more energy, a little more pep in my step. And maybe it's this new Betacraft launcher, but I kind of doubt that. But it feels like my mouse movements have been a lot snappier lately. And in a bad way, too. Like, that's bad for video recording. It gives people motion sickness. So I watched back the last clip, and it was a bit too much. So I apologize. I actually just turned down my mouse sensitivity an additional 15%. So now it's at 15. It was at 30 before. I hope that does the trick. I hope I don't start because the problem is I'll turn it down, but then my wrist will start compensating by making longer movements, and then it's just back to normal. So I hope that doesn't become the case because, I only have 15% left. After I get past that, I'll have to start modifying my mouse DPI. So, but yes, I apologize. I'll try making these a bit more smooth. So instead of doing some building, instead I've been terraforming. I figured I'd get that out of the way because that'll kind of determine where I put any of these little stone cylinders. I placed this and that, just trying to get an idea of where I could put some. But yeah, I want this area to look generally like there's a lot of infrastructure underneath the soil that is just so eroded you barely can see it. For instance, this big ruin here, there should be some central pathway of getting up here that whoever made this probably constructed out of stone. But since it's so close to the ground, it's probably all covered in dirt now, so you can barely see it. So I put this pathway here because there should be a central pathway. And, the dirt kind of marks out where a lower pathway was, because typically pathways are a little lower because they're eroded more. The soil is a bit more compressed, I guess. I don't know. I'm trying to throw out buzzwords that I've heard about in relation to archaeology and stuff. So I've been building up a whole bunch of soil here, and I think it looks pretty good. I figured I would have this pathway kind of go over towards our desert base. Since it is so close, I might as well. So I'll probably have it go through here and then down around the beach towards that. On top of that, I was also doing some building in the desert where I've been getting my sand from. I figured I'd just cover it with dirt. That way it also makes this look a little higher since, the sand goes down 4 blocks. If I just do a single layer of dirt, then it's a jump up of about 3. So that looks really good from this angle. And you can see I'm trying to get the grass to grow as far as I can. I was really tired last night. I didn't want to finish covering this, but I was like, oh, maybe, while I'm doing other things, I'll just let the grass grow. And it didn't really. Alright, I've done a bit more building, but I'm kind of at a stopping point, I think. I'm just kind of at a loss for inspiration. Actually, after I finished building a bunch of this stuff, I was like, man, I feel like the word Acropolis, is important here. And so I Googled it, and that is the Acropolis in Athens, which has the Parthenon. So I realized I'm building something that looks almost identical to the Acropolis in Athens. I promise I did not look at reference images, even for this thing. I just kind of generally know what the Parthenon looks like, so I wanted to do something similar. But the way that the landscape goes up, even that is kind of similar. Pick these up. Oh. Yeah, okay. So, I need a bit more gravel to do some path building. And, there's some other structures I want to do. These are just a bunch of really small things. You can see right here, just a little cylinder, kind of like what I did in that field near our base. Over here is another cylinder tower. I need to put a torch in here. Yep. You know, nothing special. I think I put the least amount of work into building these ruins that I have in any ruins I've ever built. This was, you know, less than a stack of blocks for each one, and probably 5 minutes of thought and actual building. So that over there, I mean, I put some sand in it to try to make it look like, you know, erosion and all that, but there was a very little mental effort put in a lot of these. There's another thing up here. It kind of looks like the foundation for maybe a house or a little shack. I feel like an archaeologist because I'm just kind of like guessing at, I mean, I know archaeologists don't just guess, but it feels like I'm just guessing at what they are based on their structure, which I suppose is part of archaeology. These little columns I actually just left, made them look a little nicer. Man, the passive mobs are going crazy. I have to keep running around and killing them because, like, they are way too loud. But you can see I tried building up this pathway. Kind of looks like the stairs disappear into soil. So, like, clearly there's some stuff underground that is just covered over time. And this is what I mean by needing more gravel. Because I feel like if people were to visit anything, they would visit this guy. So this path needs to be trampled just a little more. Then there's a thing over here. Again, I think it's kind of like a foundation for a house. Oh, I need to fix this. Can't have floating stone on dirt. Oh, okay. Alright, yep. Let me just... I'd like to get the skeleton. Nope. Okay. Yeah, so just a little house foundation. Oh, that's right. I actually broke into a cave that I had covered up while I was building this. So I decided to incorporate it into the build. So there's that. I think that looks pretty cool. Adds a little story. Trying to torch this whole place up while I'm at it. Oh, yeah, I've been building mostly during the day. Same thing here, you know, kind of like a house, I think, that's been collapsed by dirt, or maybe it's just a structure of some sort that's been collapsed. Some random stone columns here, one of which needs a torch. Yeah, very good. I want to make sure everything is spawn-proof. Then this thing here, I was kind of thinking it was like a toilet, maybe? Or maybe it's a shrine. I don't know. I just built some columns, and then I was like, oh, maybe let's do a little thing in the middle. So there's that. The most effort I put into anything here was this little bridge. Clearly it's like falling apart. I want to put a little pleasure path to the side. That is like paths that people make when, you know, the established path is either too much work or, you know, it's broken or something. So I'll put like a little gravel pathway going around it. But I did want to make it look like, you know, there was supposed to be a way to go here. So, you know, bunch of random blocks. Again, very, very low effort. Put some stuff underneath to try to make it look like it fell down. There was something that, you know, maybe this hole down here was a bit larger in antiquity. And I think that's all the things that I've built. So yeah, very, very low effort. Later on, I'll need to put in some more pathways. I would like to do a few larger ruins. Maybe not that size, but, you know, not that size. Somewhere in between. And then I think we'll call this area good. So, we have reached the end of the episode here. In the next episode, we will be doing just a whole lot of cleaning up of our world. That will be the last episode before the world tour. So we need to make sure our pathways look good. You know, any lore related stuff that I want to be ready for episode 50 needs to be ready. And yeah, just some general cleaning. So, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Let me get a good view of the place before I sign off. Yeah, okay. Take care.